Welcome, everybody. We are going to give just a couple more minutes for people to join us, and then we will get started. All right, we will go ahead and get started, and people will probably be joining us as we go. But I am Macy Brink, and I am with the IT company, and we have been doing these webinars for, gosh, about a year now, and we have just loved working with JoLynn and the knowledge that she provides. And so we are super excited for today's topic, which is mastering Microsoft Word. And so JoLynn and I were just talking before this about how much there is within Word that people don't even know about. And so
Yes.
as I say, I'm excited myself to learn a little bit more about what she knows, and hopefully you guys walk away with some more insight than what you currently have on Word. So with that,
Yes.
I will hand it over to you, JoLynn.
Sounds good. Thank you. So welcome everybody to our session today here on Mastering Microsoft Word. A couple of housekeeping things. If you do have any questions, that's what we're here for. We want to make sure that you get those questions answered. You can go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll do our best to get to those as soon as we can. Otherwise, we can keep some time at the end of the session also to do a little bit of Q&A. And just so everyone knows, we are recording this session. With no further ado, let's go ahead and get started with Microsoft Word. So I have a practice file that is open right now, and I'm just so everybody knows what I'm using Microsoft Word desktop version, and I'm actually in the 365, the latest updates to the Microsoft Word application. And the first thing that I'm going to talk about is using a feature called the navigation pane. I currently do not have it open because I'm not sure if everybody would have it open or not. So I wanted to show you how you open it. If you go to the View tab of the ribbon, on the Show group on the ribbon, there is this navigation pane. So I'd like to make sure that everybody uses that navigation pane. So if you click that and make sure you have your ruler checked as well, what that is going to do is open up a pane on the left-hand side of the screen. It can be used for a lot of different things. If you look at the navigation pane, it has a search document. This is where you could go to search the content of your file. You may have used in the past the Control F for the find, where you could use the find element built into Microsoft Word to locate information. Well, now it automatically does go into the navigation pane. So if you open that, it doesn't open up a dialog box anymore like it used to. It opens up the navigation pane. So if I click in the search document, and let's say that I just type the word "the," what it's going to do is right underneath the search in the navigation, it's going to say 95 results. And in the document itself, every place that it sees THE, it's going to highlight it in yellow. But back on the navigation pane, I'm going to click, there's a headings, pages, and results. There's 3 tabs going across the top. I'm going to click results. Results is going to display the paragraph, or I should say the line that the word that we were searching for it resides in. So we can use that to physically navigate to different locations of where those letters or words were located at in the document. So it's a great way for us to find information throughout the file. If you want to stop the search, just go back to the top of the navigation. There's an X on the right-hand side of the search box, not the X at the top of the navigation, but next to the search box. You can click that and it will bring you back to your normal document again. Another thing you can use the navigation pane for is browsing by pages. So similar to using Adobe Acrobat Reader, those types of applications. If you click pages, the tab at the top, it will show you all the pages within your document, and you can just simply click on the page you want to navigate to. But I'm going to actually show you another way that you could actually be using the navigation pane, and that's based on headings. So the first tab going across the top of the navigation is for headings. There isn't any active headings in the document just yet. So when I look at my actual file, I can see that at the top I have this image where it's talking about building with heart. And if I click it, I know that it's an image because it gives me the picture format tab on the ribbon. But I have a lot of different headings that I want to apply throughout my document. So basically, I came in and I typed everything in. Now I want to go back and use some more advanced formatting throughout the document, and I want to stay consistent. So what I'm actually going to use are called styles. On the home tab of the ribbon, we have this gallery of choices called styles. If you look at these, whatever text you are selected on, or if you are within a paragraph. So as an example, if I click at the very top in the paragraph where it reads house salvage recycle centers, if I have my cursor in that paragraph, I could go to the styles group, click on the drop down for more, and it will show me all of the current styles I have available. These are pre-formatted options that we could use consistently throughout our document. Since what I'm selected on is the title of the document, I'm going to select title. What that just did was took that first paragraph of this document and it actually changed the font to be the Aptos display heading and it's size 28. So it changed it automatically for me without me having to go select the formatting. And then I'm going to click in this paragraph where it says House Salvage Recycle Centers open new stores. I could select the text, but I could just have my cursor within that paragraph because most of our formatting, not all of it, but most of it will apply it to the entire paragraph. So when we talk about paragraph formatting from the home tab or these styles, it will apply it to everything in the paragraph. So I'm going to go to the styles gallery again, click on the drop down for more, and I'm going to choose heading 1. What that just did was took that entire paragraph, and I can see in the font group, it's using the Aptos display heading font, size 18, and it's bold. It's kind of hard to see this, but if I go to the font color, it's actually using a different color than the default. It's under this column here, under this blue color. So it's really this darker blue. It's hard to tell that on my screen, but just so you know that it's using that as well. If I had manually applied the formatting that heading 1 style gave me, it also has a bottom border going across the bottom. So if I go to this bottom border, so that is actually part of your paragraph formatting as well. If I click on that border, it's actually using this bottom border feature. So that applied all that formatting with just clicking on the style. So that would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 6 different clicks that I saved myself by just using a style. Now, some of these styles actually have about 12 clicks you can save on. So take advantage of having these available. Instead of you manually having to go to the data, select it, and apply all the formatting, use these styles instead. So I'm going to continue to kind of scroll through my document. And where I see that I want to apply a heading, I'm going to click within that paragraph and I'm going to use the heading 1, heading 2, and heading 3 styles throughout my document. So I'm going to apply hiring for new stores as a heading 1. I'm going to scroll down to page 2 and this rental department opens. I'm going to do that as a heading 1. I'm going to say that DIY seminars is a heading 2. And I'm really just kind of selecting these paragraphs as I go throughout the document, and I'm really just clicking on the heading that I want to apply. So whether it's a heading 1, it's a heading 2, it's a heading 3, whatever the case would be, I can apply that formatting. Now, this heading 3 that I just applied to this coming soon, I can see that that's using the Aptos size 12. But back when I was on a heading 2, which contest is a heading 2, that's using the Aptos display heading size 13, and that is bold. And if I go to the font color, it's actually using a font color as well. So saving us a lot of clicks, plus it's keeping us consistent throughout the document. But I don't know if you notice what's happening over in my navigation pane. In the navigation pane, it's creating the outline of the document. It is taking each of those headings, headings 1, 2, and 3, and applying them to the navigation pane. Therefore, we can use them to navigate throughout the document. So if I want to go back up to rental department opens, I can click on it from the navigation pane and it automatically moves me to that part of the document. So this is something that I use every day. The handout that you have available, I use styles, and I'm always using the navigation pane. It's just an easier way, and I always want to find efficient ways of using an application, and this definitely is part of that. Now, let's say that I changed my mind, and where I applied this heading 1, what if I don't want it to have that bottom border? And I want that for every place that I used heading 1 throughout the document. I could go to any of the heading 1 styles that I have right now. So I'm going to select this text for this rental department opens where I applied heading 1, and I'm going to remove the bottom border. I'm going to go to this all border or this no borders under my borders drop down. And let's say that I want it to be italicized. I could apply italics, but it's only changing this one that I have selected. If I wanted to update all of the heading 1 throughout my document, all I have to do is go to the icon for that style heading 1 and right click. If I right click on heading 1, I can say update heading 1 to match selection. It's going to update it everywhere throughout the document. So it's a great way to easily control any of that formatting that is being used throughout your document. And just so you know, I could do it with the normal style as well. So by default, here, if I'm in this paragraph, your favorite store is opening a new location. If I modify this, I can say throughout my document where the normal style is being used, it can be updated as well. Because by default, every time you come into a brand new document, it's using the normal style. So even that could be changed, just so you know. But where is all this coming from? Where are these styles coming from, and why is it using the default font of Aptos? Where did that all come from? And by the way, if you're using a file that you created prior to the beginning of this year, so something that you created last year, Microsoft recently changed the default font. Back in January or February, I believe, of this year is when they made the change. So we have a brand new theme which dictates the default colors and the default fonts that are being used in your applications. So where that's located at is on the Design tab. If you go to the Design tab of the ribbon, on the left-hand side, you can click Themes. So if you created a file previous to January of 2024, it was using this icon right here called Office 2013/2022 theme. It used Calibri as the default font. If you want to change it to the updated Aptos font, which is now our default, all you have to do is click on this first icon called Office, and your entire document will change to match the new theme. But just so you know what the old theme looked like, I'm going to click on the second Office icon, and it changed my entire document to now be using, and let me kind of go back here. You can see my default font now is the Calibri body. If I select any of this text, it's using, even on that heading 1, it's using Calibri light heading. So just so you can see, the entire document has changed. And if I go to the font colors, the colors have changed. So a theme contains default color sets and default fonts. If I go back to the design tab again, click themes, I could use an entirely different theme. I can use any of these built-in options, or technically I could create my own. So let's say that I select this one called Slice. It automatically updates my entire document. If I go back to the Home tab, it's using Century Gothic as the default font. If I go to the font color, all the colors are different again. So check these out to see what works best for the document you're using. I'm going to put it back to the default. I'm going to go back to design, themes, and I'm going to click the first icon again for Office. And now I'm back to having, just so you can see on the Home tab, I'm back at the Aptos body again. And if I go to my font drop down or my font color drop down, I have all of my default colors again, just so you know you have that. But one other thing that I wanted to mention also on the design tab is you can very quickly and easily change the entire layout of your document by using what is called document formatting. So when you look at this gallery of all these different choices, I'm just going to hesitate on a couple of these icons and look what it's doing to your document as you do that. It can change where all the styles were being used. It can update the entire document to match a document format. So if I choose this one called Line Stylish, it's going to update my entire document to match. Or if I choose this one, it's called Shaded. It updates my entire document to match. If I go back to the Home tab of the ribbon, it's using these different styles. So it's got all these different styles that it is applied. So I don't do a lot of manually formatting of a document. I let the computer do the work. That's what it's there for. So you might as well take advantage of it. I think these are absolutely wonderful options to use. So I'm going to leave this one. I kind of like that. So anyway, just so you could see that that automatically would update. But I want to go back to the navigation pane on the left-hand side for a second, because one of the big things is what if you put together this document and you decided that you need to kind of move things around a little bit? Let's say that I need to take rental department opens and put it at the bottom of the document. I want that to be my last heading. I can go to the navigation pane, put my mouse on rental department opens, click and drag it down underneath coming soon, release my mouse, and it just rearranged my entire document. Because I was moving a heading 1, it took everything underneath it with it. So I can see that DIY seminars, mascot family growing too, all of that moved with it as I rearranged things. So I absolutely love not only using those styles to do the formatting for me, but for having that in the navigation pane. And just so you know, if you wanted to get rid of something in a document, let's say that we changed our mind and don't want any of this coming soon. I can just go to the navigation pane, right click on it, and I'm not going to, but I could click delete. It will delete everything within that heading. So you don't have to go back and select all of it, because sometimes it might be going across 4 pages. You don't want to have to select all of that to get rid of it. Instead, do it all in the navigation pane. So anyway, just so you know, everything that I've been talking about with the themes and the styles and everything is in that handout for you. Now, my next topic, which is on page 3 in the handout, is talking about a table of contents. Another reason I use styles like heading 1s, heading 2, heading 3s, is that we actually have some built-in options for doing a table of contents. So I'm actually going to go to the top of my document. And by the way, I can do that in my navigation pane. If you look at my navigation pane, right underneath those tabs at the top is this bar with an up arrow. If I click it, it jumps me to the top of the document. So I got to tell you, that navigation pane is pretty cool. But my cursor is now at the top of my document, and I want to insert a table of contents. So what I'm going to do is go to, and it's not on the insert tab, although I was kind of emphasizing that word insert, it's actually on the references tab. A table of contents can be built automatically based on any of your heading 1, heading 2, and heading 3 styles throughout your document. So if you take advantage of using those styles, you could go to the table of contents group, click table of contents, and it has 3 built-in options that you can apply. I'm going to choose automatic table 2. As soon as I click on it, it's going to create a table of contents where my cursor was. That's why I went to the top of my document, because of course, typically your table of contents is at the beginning. Although it's kind of strange to me that it would put it wherever your cursor was. So you got to be careful and make sure you're in the right spot. So I can see that it automatically gave me my heading 1s, my heading 2s, my heading 3s, and it's using a leader tab, the ... to go across to the right-hand side, which is actually a ruler tab stop, and it's giving me the page number. Now, the nice thing about that is if we rearrange our document or we add additional content, we can then update that table of contents. So first off, I don't want my document, my contents of my document, and my table of contents to be on the same page. So what I want to do is after my table of contents, I want to insert a section break. Now I'm going to do a section break, not a page break, because I want the table of contents to not have the same header and footer as the rest of the document. Great way to do that, of course, is section breaks. I'm going to go to the layout tab of the ribbon. And on that layout tab in this page setup group, I'm going to click breaks. We could do page breaks, column breaks, but under the category for section break, I'm going to actually choose odd page. If I'm going to have the table of contents, and if somebody does print double-sided, I don't want my document to start on the back side of it. So I'm going to want an odd page break to start my document. So that's the one I'm going to choose. So it automatically jumps where my cursor was, jumps it down to start the next page. So you could see that all of this is now starting on the next page. But if I scroll back up, I have my table of contents. And my table of contents, by the way, when you hesitate, you'll get your hyperlink. You can use it to navigate through the document. But of course, you have to go back up to the you have to go back up to the table of contents to use it again. But it's great for creating bookmarks in an Adobe Acrobat file, just so you know. But also, if I go to the left-hand side, and let's say that I decide to rearrange my document again, I actually need to have mascot family growing too. I actually need that to be a heading 3. I'm going to change that to be a heading 3, and I want to move it to come under coming soon. So I can rearrange and change the formatting, but it's not updating my table of contents. I'm going to jump back up to the top of my document where I have my table of contents, and you can see right at the very top, I have this update table. I'm going to click update table. And what that does is I can update just the page numbers, or I can say update absolutely every change I made to the table. Usually I want that just in case I made some other changes. So I'm going to choose update entire table and click OK. It automatically has changed the organization, the level 3, and of course, any page numbers were updated as well. So it's a habit that if you're going to have a table of contents, make sure that before you go live, you update that table of contents to make sure that everything is working correctly. But back to the document again. I want to go to the first heading, which is this House Salvage Recycle Center's open new store, because I want to actually start making headers and footers. I want to apply a header to be at the top of every page and a footer to be at the bottom of every page, but not on the table of contents. I only want it for this second section. So right now I have two sections within the document. I have the table of contents as section 1, and then starting on technically page 3, it will be, it will automatically start the document because I'm on an odd page. But what I can do is, actually, there's multiple ways to insert the header and footer. I'm just going to go to this page, and right here at the top where it says Building with Heart, there is, if you kind of look at your ruler on the left-hand side, we have that white space, which is the margins of your document. The gray space on either the horizontal or the vertical ruler is where you're out of your margin area. If I go to the top of this piece of paper where I can see the separation of each page, I can double click my mouse in that header area at the top. It will automatically then open the header for section 2. It tells you header section 2, and on the right hand side it says same as previous. Well, I don't want the header to be on the table of contents and on the rest of the document. So I'm going to go to the ribbon where I have this header and footer tab, and in this navigation group I'm going to unclick link to previous because I don't want the header to be linked to the previous section. So I'm going to unclick that. So now any page from here down will have the same header. So let's say that I actually want it to be, let's say that I want to put the date on the right-hand side of this header area. Notice when you look at the the horizontal ruler across the top, it has a center tab stop at the 3 1/4 inch mark. And on the right-hand side, it has a right align tab stop. So where my cursor is on the left-hand side. I'm going to press tab, which takes me to the center tab stop. I'm going to press it one more time to take it to the right align tab stop. And that's where I want to put the date. And I want it to be updated every time I come into this document. If you look at the header and footer tab of the ribbon, there's this insert group where we can insert the date and time, document information like the document title, the file name. I could do quick parts, I could do pictures, etc. I'm going to click date and time. It opens up a date and time dialog box where we could choose how we want it to be formatted. And at the bottom right, we could check or uncheck update automatically. If it's checked, it will update to be the current date based on your system time every time you come into the document. I'm going to leave it as update automatically and click OK. So now the date is going to appear at the top right. But I also want to take that logo, which is Building with Heart, that is in my document right now. I want that to go into the header. I don't want it in my document. I want it in the header. So what I'm going to do is double click my mouse anywhere within the section of the document itself instead of the header area. I'm going to double click so I'm back into the document. I'm going to select that image of Building with Heart. I'm going to cut it. I'm going to Control X on that image. It's holding it in my clipboard right now. I'm going to go back into the header by double clicking again at the top of this piece of paper. I'm going to double click so I'm back into my header, section 2, and I'm going to paste that. I'm going to Control V and paste that image. Now I can move the image around. I can resize it. I could make whatever changes it is that I want to do to that image. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to move it up more into the header area to the left. So just so you can see, it can be modified. So once I'm done, I still need to do a footer. So I've got the header the way that I want it to look for every page for this section. but I want to add a footer. And in the footer, I want page numbers. So from the header and footer tab of the ribbon, on the left-hand side is this header and footer group. There are built-in headers that I could have used instead of designing my own. I could have used one of these built-in options, or I could have gone to footer, and I could use any of these built-in options for footers. Or, just so you know, and by the way, on these headers and footers, if you're going to be creating a book style document, there's the ability of doing odd and even page breaks, and we can have different headers and footers for odd and even pages. Just so you know, you could do that. A little bit beyond the scope of our class today, but I'm just going to go to page number. Instead of doing a custom footer, you could just simply go to page number, choose that you want it on the bottom of the page, and then choose one of these built-in options where it can be page 1 of 20. It can just say page 1, page 2, that kind of thing. Whatever style it is that you like, there's a lot of different built-in choices. So I'm going to choose this one called brackets 2. And it automatically will jump me down into my footer area where it gave me lines with brackets around the actual page number. Notice that it says page 1. That's because I did an odd page break. So this page started with page 1. I'm done with my header and footer right now. I could either double click into my document again, or as you can see on the header and footer tab on the ribbon, there is a close header and footer. So once I click close, as I scroll through my document, I can see that there is a header at the top of every page and a footer at the bottom of every page. So that was an easy way to just get into the header and footer. But just so you know, you could have also created a header and footer by starting on the Insert tab of the ribbon. Instead of double clicking at the top or the bottom of your page, you could go to the Insert tab. On the right-hand side, there is a header and footer group that you could have started from here with the built-in headers, the built-in footers, or simply going to page numbers. Just so you know, you could have done that. Just something extra to think about. So as you kind of scroll through your document, if you see specific areas, like right now at the bottom of page 2, it has these store locations and hours. I actually want that to be a heading 2. So I'm going to change that style to be heading 2. And I'm going to go to the beginning of that paragraph and click my cursor. Oh, by the way, let me show you that in a second, but I'm going to put my cursor at the beginning of that paragraph because it's breaking apart this information related to the store locations and hours. I'm going to force a page break by doing Control Enter. If you do Control Enter, it automatically moves that information down to the next page. Now, of course, my table of contents isn't updated for this, changing the heading and for the page number of where it's located at. So I will need to go back and change that. So just so you're kind of thinking about that as you go through. Okay, so we can always be doing regular page breaks, or we can be doing section breaks at any time. So if you're putting together, let's say that my rental department opens is really starting a brand new topic, and I want that to start on an odd page. I could go to the beginning of that rental department opens. I could go back to the layout tab. I could say breaks, and I could say odd page to make sure that that starts on an odd page number. So now I've got page 4 before, and then this is going to start on page 5. So at any time, you can be going back and adding in section breaks, adding in page breaks. But the big difference between them is sections can have different page formatting, like landscape versus portrait. It could have different margins. Each section could have different headers and footers. So let's say that for this section, I don't want the date in the header. I'm going to double click in the header area, and you can see that it now says header section 3. And I don't want it to be linked to the previous section. So on the ribbon, I'm going to click to unselect link to previous so that I can make changes to this. I'm going to select the date and I'm going to delete it. And just so you know, this date is a placeholder. This is technically called a placeholder. If I just select the physical date, it's only going to delete the date and not the placeholder. I need to go to the placeholder and click this vertical bar, and it selects the entire placeholder object. Then I can press my delete key, just so you could see we could do that. And then, of course, maybe I want to move my building with heart to be in the center of the document. I could move it. I'm going to double click to go back into my document. And when I look at this section, I can see my new header. If I scroll up to the next page, I still have my previous header. So just so you can see the benefit of having those section breaks. I think it's a great feature to have. So we talked about the navigation pane being a great way to navigate. The table of contents can be used to navigate as well. We also can be navigating. And by the way, I'm going to go back to the navigation pane on the left-hand side. And just so you know, there's arrows next to each of these different headings. So like if there's more under a heading 1, you will have an arrow. If there's more under a heading 2, there will be an arrow. On the navigation pane on the left-hand side, you can use those arrows to collapse and expand the list. So if I'm just focusing on all the heading 1s or whatever, I could shrink those up. I could right click and do it, or do it by the arrows. If I need to expand it back out, I can do that. But it's not doing anything to my actual document. So let's say that I go to hiring for new stores. And if I go to the left-hand side of that paragraph for that style heading 1, I have an arrow. If I click that arrow, it shrinks up that entire section. So we can actually take any of those headings, shrink them up. And the reason you might want to do that is, what if you want to just give someone a summary of your document? Now, I'd probably use Copilot to help me with that summary, but however it looks is how it's going to print. However it looks is how it's going to print. So if it can't see the content underneath that heading, it's not going to print it. So if I go back and I expand these back out by clicking on the arrow again, it will bring all of that data back. So make sure that when you go live with your document, everything is expanded out in the document so everybody will be able to see everything. And a lot of times for me, I'm actually doing this as a PDF. And speaking of that, this is not in your handout, but I really want to mention this for you because I think this is an important part of using a table of contents. So I'm going to jump back up to the top of my document. And you can see I have this table of contents, but it's not updated. I'm going to click Update Table. I'm going to update entire table and click OK, and everything has now been updated. Notice my section 3. By default, it assumed I wanted to start with a new set of page numbers. What if I don't? I'm going to navigate to Rental Department Opens, where it started that 3rd section. And I'm going to scroll down to the bottom where it says page number 1. I'm going to double click to go into that footer area, and you can see that it says same as previous. So why didn't it update the page number? The page number is actually being controlled separately than the formatting of it. So I'm going to select that actual number, this number 1 here, and I'm going to go back up to the ribbon on the header and footer tab. I'm going to click page number, and then I'm going to choose format page number. This is where it thought I wanted it to start with a new set of page numbers, but I'm going to choose at the bottom here, continue from previous section. And by the way, just so you know, this is also where I could change the number format, because if I wanted ABCs, Roman numerals, whatever, I could choose those from this drop down at the top for number format. Okay, just so you know. I'm going to click OK, and it's going to change the page number, which of course prompts me to know that I need to change my table of contents again. So I'm going to double click to go back into my document. I'm going to jump up back to my table of contents and click update table, entire table, click OK, and everything has been updated accordingly. So just so you know, a couple of those tricks. And then another thing in your handout is it talks about document security. Document security can be a very important part of using Microsoft Word, especially if you are going to be saving your file to a SharePoint or Microsoft Teams SharePoint document library, or you're saving it from OneDrive with other people. There is document security built into Microsoft Word, and we can access it from a couple of different places, but I do have the full instructions for you. One way to encrypt it with a password so that they have to have the password to open it, which sometimes I'll do this when it's in SharePoint, where I only have certain people that, yes, it's in a SharePoint document library that my whole team has access to, but I don't want everybody to open it. I can encrypt it with a password. One way to do that is to go to the file menu at the top left. When you go to the file menu, go to the info category, click info, and then on the right-hand side, click protect document. You can see there's several choices from here. Encrypt with password is what you would want to use. If you click encrypt with password, you can then put in your password, and it's giving you a caution. If you lose or forget your password, it cannot be recovered. So make sure if you're going to do this, you know what that password is. It is case sensitive as well. You would type in the password and click OK. Then you would retype it to confirm the spelling of the password. Then whoever wants to open the file would have to put the password in. I'm not going to do that in this class, but just so you know how that part would work. But back to this protect document, you do have some other choices here. Always open as read only is a choice as well. So preventing accidental changes by asking the reader to opt in to editing the document. So it's opening as read only by default. They have to click opt in as a message across the top to be able to edit it. It's not restricting them from editing it, but it could. Also, we have this control the types of changes you can make. I'll show you that when I get back into the document again, because it's available in multiple places. We could add a digital signature if you have that service available to you, or you can mark the document as final, which I do at the end of every year when I've audited on all my records, whether it's Excel files, Word documents, whatever, I do mark them as final so that that original file cannot be changed. They could make a copy of the file, but they can't change the original. Just so you're aware, if I go back to the file again, I could also go to the review tab of the ribbon. From the review tab in all of your Microsoft programs, you will find the ability of doing protection options. On the right-hand side, I could block different authors. Now, I'm not sharing this with other people right now. It's in my OneDrive, but I could block authors from doing specific things, or I could just simply click restrict editing. What this is going to take you into is the ability on the right-hand side of the screen to change it to be formatting restrictions, editing restrictions. So let's say that, I'll show you both here real quick. If I click for limit formatting to a selection, I would have to go into settings and choose the settings that I want to limit them to. I'm going to click cancel and uncheck that. The second choice is limiting the editing. So if I choose allow only this type of editing, then I could choose exceptions for specific people, but where it says no changes, this would be read only unless they have the password. Automatically read only unless they have the password. Or if I click on this drop down, I could say tracked changes, the restricted, comments, or I want to restrict this if it's a form where they can only go to the form fields. So just so you could see, you could choose the type of formatting or editing restrictions that you want. You would, of course, want to start enforcing at the bottom where you're going to be putting in passwords. Now, I'm not going to apply that, but you do have your step-by-step instructions for those and a little bit more information. So you have to choose number 1 or number 2 for it to give you the start enforcing capabilities. But these are some great ways to make sure that your files that are going to be out in more of a public area are going to have some restrictions to them, just so you're aware. So those were the standard topics that I was going to cover with you today. But at the end of your book, I put in a couple of extra topics. And one of these is cover pages. So let's say that I'm in my document at the store location and hours. And let's say that I decide that I want to be adding in a cover page because I want to have a graphic and the title and stuff to be on a first page of the document. But I'm here on page 4 of my document right now. There are built-in cover pages to Microsoft Word that you can use. You can always change the formatting and different things, but at least you have a good starting point. And a cover page always goes to the first page of your document, no matter where your cursor is. Not like the table of contents. So if I go to the Insert tab of the ribbon, on the left-hand side in the Pages group, you can click Cover Page. You can choose one of these pre-formatted options. Some of these are a little busy, but what they're going to provide for you is placeholders for specific data to automatically appear, or you can change it, and it's the properties of the document. And it can include graphical objects. So if you see one that you like, I'm just going to choose this one called faucet. And when I did that, I'm going to jump back up to the top of my document. It will jump me there. It's taking a second to add it for whatever reason, but that's okay. So once it actually shows me my cover page, whichever one you chose, it will automatically put as page 1. You can always select objects within that cover page and make changes to them. You could delete objects, add other objects to it, whatever it is that you might need. Okay, so my Word document is locked up at the moment, but it will come back in a second. Sorry about that. There it came. So you could see where mine has this graphic at the top that I could select and make changes to. So if I wanted to change the colors for it, whatever the case would be, I could do that. So just so you could see, I'm kind of hesitating on some colors. But where it says recycling is lots of fun, that has nothing to do with my document. Where did that come from? That actually came from the File menu. If I go to the info category, it's part of the properties of the document. If I look at the properties on the right-hand side, it says recycling is lots of fun. I put that in manually. I typed that in as the title of my document. If I don't want that, I could delete it out and go back to my file again, and it's not going to be there. Just so you could see, it would remove it. So I'm going to go back into file again. I'm going to go to info. I'm going to go to my properties on the right, click where it says title, and I'm going to put in the title of recycle every day. Just so you can, oops, I have to spell that correctly, recycle every day. Just so you can see, if I go back to my file, it's going to automatically update that placeholder. And if I click in that, just so you can see, it's a placeholder called title. So it's coming from the properties of the document. And then I have this abstract down at the bottom where I could delete the entire object, or I could add additional information to it if I wanted to. I'm just going to delete it. And then it brought in my author name. So it knows that I was the author of this document coming from the properties. So it automatically is here. And I could type in an email address. So if I wanted to add in an email address that would be included for everybody to see, we can add that in as well. Or I could just simply delete that if I don't want that to appear. But I could always select the text and make modifications to it. I could add things to this, but it's a great way to get started with a document having a cover page automatically. And I'm going to go to my paragraph group, and on the top right, I'm going to click on this icon called Show Hide. That will show all of your page breaks. It's called non-printing characters, where it has section breaks, page breaks. It will display any of the spaces that you did with your mouse. So as I'm kind of going through, you could see where this page of the title is different than this page of the table of contents. Now, just so you can see what I mean by that, I'm going to double click into the header area of this table of contents. And it says header section 1. Yes. And if I look at the cover page, it's actually first page footer of section 1. So right now, this cover page and the table of contents are the same section. They're both section 1. But a great feature with our header and footer is if I go back to that header and footer tab of the ribbon, it actually is using this first page header being different than the rest of the section. So if you're going to have a chapter, a title of a chapter for a section, it can be a different first page for the first page of a section. If you don't want that, you can go to the options group of the header and footer tab and uncheck different first page. Otherwise, if I go to my table of contents and at the top of that page, let's say that I add in a header of my choice. I'm just kind of typing in there just so you can see this. That's not going to appear on the first page. It only appears here because the first page of this section is different. If I uncheck that different first page, when I scroll back up, it's being hidden by this graphic, but that text would be there. So just so you know what that different first page is regarding. Now I'm going to delete that header on the table of contents. I don't really want that, but just wanted you to see that. But I like doing this show hide so that I can see things that are happening in the background of my document that I may not otherwise have been able to see because they're hidden normally. So anytime that there's a hard return, we press our tab key, we press our space bar. Those are your non-printing characters. If you don't want to see them anymore, which by the way, I'm going to scroll down so that you can see that any page breaks, like here's my manual page break that I put in, I can see that when I'm actually showing those page breaks, or the show hide, I should say. But I'm going to go back and turn that back off again from the paragraph group because I don't need to see those anymore. But just so you know, it's kind of like the old Microsoft Word Perfect. I shouldn't say Microsoft, but the old Word Perfect where we had the reveal codes. That's our version of kind of the Microsoft reveal codes as far as those non-printing characters. It doesn't do the styles that way, but it does that. So anyway, just so you're aware of that. So Microsoft Word can be a lot more than just coming in and doing typing and modifying your paragraph formatting and modifying your text formatting individually, even if it's not an entire paragraph. You definitely want to be taking advantage of using the navigation pane and using the styles. Going to the design tab, changing your theme, or just simply changing your document formatting is going to modify the entire document for you. But it does take advantage of the styles. The styles also are being used to create your table of contents, but don't forget to go back and update it if you make any changes to your data before you go live. Last thing I want to show you is I'm going to save this as a PDF. So now that I got it all ready to go, I'm going to go back to the file menu and I'm going to, technically, I'm just going to go to save a copy instead of Adobe PDF. And then I'm going to go on the right-hand side and I'm going to go to where it says Word document. I'm going to click on that drop down and I'm going to choose PDF. But I'm not just going to click save. I'm going to click more options. because what this is going to give me is I have a table of contents. And I want that table of contents to be bookmarks when I use this as a PDF file. So I want it to be in the as bookmarks. So down at the very bottom, I'm going to click this options button. It opens this options dialog box, and in the middle it says include non-printing information. I'm going to click in front of create bookmarks using headings. Otherwise, it doesn't do it by default. I'm going to click OK. Then I'm going to click save. So it's saving this as a PDF where anybody with a reader program can open it. But the best part is they're going to be able to use bookmarks. So as they navigate it, and it's opening on my other screen here, let me slide that over here so you can see it. They will automatically have bookmarks because when I saved it as a PDF, I told it to have the bookmarks. So just a second for that to load. Sorry, it's being kind of weird there. But anyway, on the left or the right hand side, I could say display bookmarks and I would have the bookmarks available. I can navigate by pages. I can navigate by bookmarks. Oops, that's my comments. Oops, I'm in Reader for, it didn't open me in my default by whatever reason. But anyway, you would always get your bookmark options. So take advantage of those. Use your styles. Use your table of contents. Those are going to be very, very helpful tools along the way. So let's take it back to you, Macy. Did we have anybody have any questions during our webinar today?
We did not, but we have a couple minutes left. If anybody has any questions, you are more than welcome to drop them in the chat.
All right. I got to tell you, Microsoft Word has so many features to it. It's hard to kind of fit all of it into 1 hour, but I think these are features that a lot of people don't use because they're not quite sure the benefits behind them. So hopefully everybody will start using these now if they haven't yet.
It looks like we don't have any questions, but I will cover the future webinars. And if anybody has any last minute questions, again, feel free to drop them in that chat. But we will start doing our bi-monthly webinars. We will resume those in 2025. So we have some fun things planned going in the future. And so just stay tuned for details and registration in December for the upcoming webinars for that. And it looks like we did have one question. Yes, you will receive the video of this training. I will send it out via email. And then additionally, it will be located on our website going forward as well.
All right.
Well, thank you everybody who joined us today. It was a great training, Jolynn. So I appreciate everything that you walked through and your knowledge that you shared. So thank you again, Jolynn, and thank you everybody for joining.
Thanks. Bye.